and out. But thanks again. In case you are not familiar with us, we are a mostly volunteer-run organization made up of our board members, as well as Beryl, who's our part-time staff member. And this month, it'll be a pleasure to announce that we've also hired an executive director. So Tatiana Cannon has joined us a couple weeks ago, actually, and she has become our first executive director, which is a great milestone for our organization, as we will rise to the next level, and we have the expertise and the passion of Tatiana. So I want to hand off the mic to her so that she can have a moment to introduce herself, let us know a little bit about where she comes from, why she joined Solar Austin, and kind of her vision for us accomplishing all the different works that we have in the works we have in the work.
Works and works. I love it. It sounds about. Thank you so much for the introduction. And I have to apologize for all who may see my cat still to come on this Zoom. I have 3 pets. You'll see it as my passions, animals. But sometimes when they hear me talking, they assume I'm talking to them, and you may see them parade across the screen. But I'm Tatiana. I'm so glad to meet everyone. I really try to do just a quick snapshot of who I am, but I did want to include my email at the bottom of this. Please reach out. I am brand new, learning and meeting people. I would really love to connect with anyone who has any information to share related to this network, to solar, to anything in the Austin area. I am a voracious learner and excited to be on board. Little bit about me. I've got a bachelor's degree in letters. It's not just the alphabet, it's history, philosophy, and literature with some linguistics mixed in. And I have a master's in adult and higher education. I was briefly a college professor when I was like 23, way too young for college students to take me seriously. I started my career in higher education, but I have since transitioned to a lot of nonprofit work. So some of the major groups I've worked with are Teach for America and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, predominantly doing fundraising and executive leadership, along with some policy work there. So through that work, a few years ago, I founded my own consulting group called Aster Collaborative, working with nonprofit and for-profit clients, both on fund development, monetization, brand management, and policy. I've helped a lot with some nonpartisan initiatives. And I also got to serve as a transitional executive director for a sustainability group that focused on composting as a part of that work. And that was a few years ago. And it's what really piqued my interest into the idea of the economics of sustainability and the sustainability life cycle, and how are we engaging all communities to have access to really the rights and privileges we have within the states to have access to so much, and how can we honor the earth and how we utilize it and equip it to power us. So yeah, I said some of my passions, equity and sustainability are what I live for. I also love gardening. My crazy animals, my cat Maggie's pawing at me as we speak. My family's fantastic. I've got a great husband. I'm a brand new aunt to a beautiful niece. And I'm a huge champagne advocate. I don't know if y'all know this, but you can drink champagne any time of day and it's socially acceptable, which is really fun in terms of like always have a bottle of champagne in your fridge, for better, for worse, morning, evening, it'll fit the occasion. So I am always here to advocate on behalf of champagne. And for a happy hour, it feels like now is the time to tell you all that information. So there we go. And as I said, please email me, please reach out. I'm so happy to connect with this network, and the Solar Austin board and team has done so much to grow this work, and we've got lots of exciting updates and partners, but we've got more in store. So yay, champagne. So I see that chat, Elizabeth. But yeah, anytime I can ever be a resource or provide connection to other advocates in the community, whatever that looks like, please never hesitate to reach out. This is me, and I'm so thrilled to be on board. So thanks, team, and thanks, Juan, for the intro.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have with you, and I can't wait to drink some champagne with you in person and the rest of our community here, and just be able to talk cats and solar, maybe.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so before that, we started in 2002, for those of you that aren't familiar with Solar Austin. So almost on that 20-year mark of just a group of really passionate individuals trying to advance solar both the implementation and the education of it throughout Central Texas. And so that's really why we are here to start working on different initiatives, right? Working a little bit on policy, on education through elementary school or through mid-career or end-career type of individuals, events and happy hours, our Pathways program to clean energy, as well as our community installations where we can work a little bit with other nonprofits in town to donate some manual labor and some solar systems. So on that note, we are in the works of donating an installation to a nonprofit in Austin called the Children's Haven. If you guys aren't too familiar, they have been around since almost World War II, located in the east side of Austin to help marginalized communities throughout Travis County, just given the resources to get their feet back on the ground and be able to get back into whether it's the labor force, whether it's their families. It is a wonderful organization in which right now it's working with teenagers. So really excited about this work. Feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions about this, but it will be a nice opportunity for us to try out our community installation initiative. Our next initiative will be the Pathways to Clean Energy. So I'll let Daryl, who is the program manager, speak a little bit more about what it is, what it's been doing, and where it's going.
Thank you so much, Juan. Yes, so the Pathways to Clean Energy Careers, we launched it about 1.5 years ago, thanks to this grant from the city of Austin. And the mission of this program, it has always been to facilitate these more equitable entry points for women students and students of color to be able to engage with clean energy and really just build careers in this industry. This program, it encapsulates not only internship matching, but also professional development, providing professional development resources for students, and then also really orchestrating and facilitating these conversations around what it means to actually cultivate an inclusive workforce and what it means to actually have an equitable recruitment process and hiring process. And a lot of this really the work that we do has to do with those we're able to partner with in the community, whether it be students or the actual host companies. We're very excited to be launching another aspect of this program more fully this summer, which is the mentorship program. So we're hoping to be matching each student intern this summer with a clean energy professional in Texas who would be interested in sitting down for a conversation, maybe just a coffee once a week, once every 2 weeks, with a young professional to help just shed your expertise, offer advice, offer guidance as they make their first steps into this new career path. So if you're at all interested in partnering with this program, whether you're a student who is looking for an internship in clean energy, a company who would be interested in bringing on an intern, or just a clean energy professional who would be interested in being a mentor this summer, please feel free to read more about it on Solar Austin's website. We have a link provided below, but also feel free to reach out to Tatiana and myself at info@solaraustin.org. We're always looking for more partners in the community. Right, back to you, Juan.
Thanks, Beryl. Yeah, so it's a pretty exciting opportunity to just share a little bit of time and knowledge here. So I definitely encourage you to sign up, express what it is that you want to learn, and hopefully we'll do our best to use our networks to match those needs. This is a little bit of a review. I guess you can mention it a review, but it's mostly feedback from one of our employers for one of our interns, FTC Solar, kind of expressing how great this program was and how surprised they were with their student. It was a really quick interview process and selection process, and then the student ended up being hired by FTC Solar. So it's a really good opportunity for the sector to be more diversified and more representative of the people, as well as for us to lower that barrier of entry that there is to solar, as we've seen. Also, I want to share with you guys that we would like to hear from you. So in the chat room, in the chat box, we will drop a link pretty soon for you to take 5 minutes and answer a few questions about our events. For you to express a little bit of feedback as to what events you've liked, which ones you want to see, whether you'd like to have them in person, continue them virtual, do hybrid. Your responses with the email will then be entered into a drawing to win a Solar Austin shirt. So I encourage you guys to take 5 minutes. Let us hear from you, see what it is that you like to learn from as we kind of plan out the second half of the year on our events. And we couldn't be here and we couldn't be to the stage where we are in the organization without these sponsors who their generous year-over-year donations have helped us reach the level. So FTC Solar is one of our stellar sponsors. They're a tracker manufacturer, now actually publicly traded after less than 10 years or so in the market. Now they have filed for IPO, based here in Austin. Then we also have a few developers, Recurrent Energy, as a subsidiary of Canadian Solar, Mayfield Renewables, which is a design firm, Yada, which is a innovative storage manufacturer, also based in Austin, Orsted, which is a developer, Downtown Austin Town Alliance, helping keep our downtown clean, and Freedom Solar Power, which has been one of our supporters almost from day one as a leading solar installer. Also, Kilowatt sponsors here are Hush & Blackwell, which is a law firm specializing in renewable legal work. HEB, They Might Be Trees for tree removal, Z Prime, and Powerfin Partners all help us out, along with Hypermatics, which is a solar or renewable energy recruitment firm, SunPro, Lighthouse Solar installation company, as well as CD Green Tech, a distributor in town. And we couldn't forget also our Watt sponsors, Greenhawk Business Service, which is led by Carol, also helping with accounting initiatives, the Deere Group, Greener by Design, working with design for solar systems, as well as Harris Energy Solutions. Clean Power Marketing has helped us out as well with a few interns, and Greenbelt Solar, another local solar installer. And if you know or are interested in sponsoring our next year's, please send us a note. It's a really good opportunity not also to support our work, but also to be interconnected with the other sponsors. And if there's any questions, feel free to let us know. But I think that right now it's time to hand off the mic. We are really excited to welcome Bill Hetherington. He is the CEO of Bandera Electric Cooperative, which is one of the few cooperatives or one of the few utilities that actually received a lot of favorable response from their customers during the big freeze that we went through February. So we'd like to understand why it is that their users had such a favorable understanding about Bandera, why it is that they're creating the utility of the future, and how they are helping redefine rural America. If you don't know, Bandera County is a little bit southwest of Austin. It is from the area of Southwest San Antonio all the way up to Leakey, about Leakey, Texas. So pretty excited to hear a little bit from Bill and hear from you guys as well as to any sort of questions that you have about their innovation. So feel free to drop off the questions in the chat, and that way we will have 15 minutes or so after the presentation to have a conversation with him. But very excited to hand off the presentation privileges over here to Bill. And hope you guys have a champagne in hand and ready to enjoy the talk. Bill, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me. My name's Bill Hetherington, as Juan said. So I'm assuming most of you are very good solar folks, and you all know who the father of solar energy is, right? Does anybody know that? Okay, so that's a trick question. There is no father of solar energy, but there is a mother of solar energy. Her name was Maria Telks. I encourage you to look her up. She envisioned solar energy back in the early 1900s. She was the first to build a solar energy house in the 20s. She worried about, during the recession, people not being able to afford fuel to power their house. And so I think it starts with that. Juan, if you could go ahead, and I'll let you control the Prezi for me.
That sounds good. There we go. Can everyone see my screen? Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Again, my name is Bill Hetherington. I'm really going to talk about this from the context of the utility of the future, because I really believe that the electric utility of the future really needs to start adopting higher quality technology, as well as improving their customer service. And I'll get into why I think that's important for our electric utilities. But first, if you could play this video, I'm hoping the video works.
Seamlessly.
Perfect. I guess the video, the sound's not working.
Oh. Oh, okay. Let me
Bail out of that. Anyway, that was just an introductory video of BEC, who we are. So I guess I'll just kind of talk about that as opposed to watching a video. For those of you who don't know, Electric Cooperative, we are basically a 501c12. We are a not-for-profit, community-based electric utility owned by the people we serve, which means the people that take electric service from us own us. So we're very tightly connected with our members, and that's really kind of the backdrop as we start this presentation. We started in 1938 as part of the Rural Utility Service, or Rural Electrification, REA Act. So I'll let you catch up. There we go. We serve about 2,200 square miles, 45 miles northwest of San Antonio. So Kendall County, Bandera County, Real County, Medina County, and also parts of Uvalde and Bexar County, actually. So that being said, as we move on, most of our services, when I joined in 2013, my background is in electrical engineering. And I've worked in technology development and solar for a good part of my life. What was interesting coming back to the Texas Hill Country, and I love it here in Bandera. I actually live outside of Boerne. So when you all get tired of Austin and the traffic and it's just too expensive, we want to welcome you over here. It's great. We have high-speed internet, we have solar, we have great low affordable electric. So I got to put in my plug. Please move to our service territory. You'll love it. Anyway, in 2014, we were just like other electric utilities at the time. We were selling water heaters and surge protectors and meter sockets, things that from an electric utility standpoint, we thought that's what our members need. As an electric utility, that's what we should be providing our members. I asked the question to our customer service people, well, what do our members think? Because we weren't selling anything. Well, we haven't asked them. Well, why don't we ask them? So we sent out a survey. We surveyed a large number of our membership. Here's the result. Guess what they wanted? In 2014, they said, we want high-speed internet is what we want. We want renewable energy options. And we want you guys to help finance it and give us rebates for energy efficiency improvements. Okay, a far cry from what we are actually offering. So we went about the task of trying to figure out how we do that. And so as we move through, we realized as part of this that our industry was in transition. And when people say our industry is in transition, there's an interesting thing that happens. They say, well, that can't be our industry because we're a monopoly, right? We have a licensed service territory. So transition doesn't happen. The transition is what is happening is with technology and with customer expectations. And what we have found is that people adopt technology much quicker today than they used to. And this is a graphic example out of Forbes Magazine, and it's rather dated, but at least gives you the general idea that, you know, it literally took decades for people to get on an airplane after the airplane was invented, even to get a telephone at their house after the telephone was invented. But more recently, you see the adoption rates of cell telephones. We all have a cell phone now, very quick. Likewise, when you move to another good example of that is even more so is social media. And so the next slide will show you that when Facebook started, I mean, in 2009, you know, we're talking about 100,000, 150,000 people. By 2015, 1.5 billion. So you want to talk about a rapid rise in acceptance of technology. This is a great example. Likewise, the same could be said for renewable energy. As we started looking at renewable energy going forward, you saw that people were adopting renewable energy and because of cost. Well, why was the cost dropping so fast? The cost was dropping so fast because renewable energy is a technology, not a fuel. As we all know, solar energy coming from the sun does not charge money. So it's not really a fuel issue, it's a technology issue. And so as you build scale, as you build economics, the rapid drop of technology costs. Likewise, we have decline of solar cost. And so the question becomes then, well, what happens if customer expectations and technology outpaces the business model? And this is a great example. I love this business because we also provide high-speed internet to our customers, fiber to the home. And this is a great example. So in 2001, cable TV reached their peak subscription of membership. It's been declining every year. Basically, cable TV loses about 4 million subscribers a year. What I like about this slide is even in the midst of that, even with that obvious competition, you have the CEOs and the executives from Charter and from Time Warner and from Blockbuster, all in denial, saying this is a fad, it won't last. I think there's a comment about it's like the Albanian army is going to take over the world. I mean, I'm not even sure what that means. But ironically, what's funny is that they felt no threat, no pressure. They were in complete control. Today, Netflix has over 207 million subscribers, and cable TV is losing 4 million a year. So the writing's on the wall. And so this is what happens if we don't pay attention to technology and our customer expectations. So that is the basis of BEC and what we're doing. So moving forward, what we have is we serve an area, like, as I said, we're 7 counties, we're northwest of San Antonio, and then we're in a rural part of Texas. A recent Kaiser Foundation survey around the US, what's interesting is 6 out of 10 people actually describe where they live as, I live in a rural area. Well, according to the US government, no, you live in an urban area. So why is that disconnect? Well, the disconnect is because people want to feel like they're in a safe place, but they want the infrastructure to enable them to live where they want to live. And I think if nothing else, the COVID and 2020, what we learned was people are very comfortable working from home. In fact, they would rather work from home. They don't have the infrastructure to work from home. And so we have developed a model where we are bringing the necessary infrastructure to enable people to work from home, get high quality healthcare, education from home, and all live in a safe and secure environment, which will provide a sustainable economic model for rural America. We call that vision reimagining rural America. Okay, it's not about the farm anymore. It's about the farm, but the farm now is connected. And so lighting the grid to empower our membership is really where the vision is why we're doing this. The mission is more about how you're going to do that. How are you going to achieve that? And by doing that, we're lighting the grid, which means is we're offering that infrastructure that supports high-speed internet, it supports grid resiliency, and accommodates the Internet of Things, which are all converging. And so that is the basis for our mission and vision at BEC. So let's talk about solar for a minute. What's interesting about solar was you saw back in 2014, I said, well, we want renewable energy options. Well, the reality was that most of our customers, most of our members were being sold solar, and they really didn't understand how it worked. Okay, and I'm going to be very politically correct here, and I said most solar companies maybe don't explain fully how electric utilities view solar, or how they reward people who put in solar. And so we as an electric utility were getting a lot of calls saying, well, hey, you know, I was told that I wouldn't have an electric bill anymore. Well, no, that's not accurate. But, you know, in efforts to accommodate that and provide transparency and understanding, we realized that we need to give our members, customers, options, and said, so we applied in 2016, we launched BEC Solar. And what BEC Solar was a part of the electric utility. This was not a subsidiary. This was not just a venture capital, hey, let's try to go make some money. This was about offering a quality solar product for our longtime members, knowing that we will stand behind that product if that is something you choose to do. We knew going in, we were not going to be the cheapest in town. We weren't here to try to bait and switch or sell you something, but we want to work with you to help expand renewables, because renewables play a very vital role in the portfolio of every electric utility. Today, you know, our average size of solar units, and I know Justin McKenzie's on here probably. He knows a lot more about this than I do, but I would say that, you know, we're around 11.6 kilowatt in our size of solar installations. We have about 6.43 megawatts of distributed solar on rooftops that we refer to as our solar fleet. 45% of the folks who buy solar from us also want storage. It gives you kind of an insight as to where people are going. And I think certainly after Winter Storm Uri, that's accelerated even more, and I'll get into that a little later. We have about 3.1 megawatts of capacity in our energy storage fleet. Again, it's distributed throughout our grid. The benefits to our BEC members has been about $5.5 million in revenues to BEC, allowing us and realize a net margin of about $1.37 million. So it's good, not only good for the members who want to put in solar, it's good for all of the members of BEC. So how do we do that? Here are the incentives that we offer. We recognize that we operate within ERCOT in a volatile wholesale electric market where the price changes every 15 minutes. Most retail people don't recognize that because they're served through a utility that basically establishes base rates or fixed rates and absorbs a lot of that fluctuation and risk. We do realize, though, that a lot of our members who generate energy were willing to take a risk, and so we adopted a time of use rate approach. What that means is if you're generating between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. during the summer, you get paid a higher amount based on what that wholesale energy price is. Typically in our situation, you know, that's between 9 and 10 cents a kilowatt hour. It's a rather significant fee. It's not a net metering, but it is tied to the wholesale price of electricity. It's tied to what we pay, because we are on, as an electric utility, we are on a time of use plan with our provider. So it all matches, and that way we ensure consistency through the rate structure. We're also looking to develop what we call a capacity buyback program. This is specific because of the benefits of storage capacity. Again, I'm going to get into that a little later, but it really recognizes the value of if you can discharge your battery and get offline when the price of energy goes to $9,000 a megawatt hour, there will be a significant financial reward offered. We offer a low cost per watt. Like I said, we're not the lowest cost in town. We're at about $3 a watt, but that's all in, and we're here for a 10-year warranty, and we're going to support it, and we're going to help you with APOLLOWARE. And again, I'm going to go into that a little bit about the benefits of that, and that has been very successful. It really is about member engagement and enhancing the value that we provide to our membership and to our electric customers. We also offer rebates and tax credits, but the tax credits are, of course, the federal tax credit. Rebates are through our escheated funds from the state. This is just an example of what APOLLOWARE can do. And then this basically shows you how we've been able to utilize APOLLOWARE. APOLLOWARE is our cloud-based energy management system. All people who interconnect and operate in parallel with our electric system are required to have APOLLOWARE. And there's a tremendous benefit for them as getting insight into actually what's going on with their installation, because it's, as it says here, what we find is about 20% of the solar installations in our service territory aren't really performing like they should, whether it was an inverter issue or over design of the solar, or that you see there that it's flattening out. In other words, it's just too much coming back, or it just hasn't been designed right, or it wasn't installed right. These are little things, but you have to keep in mind, in the context as electric utility, the solar industry is relatively new. And so these are normal situations you're going to have. The key is to have the tools in place and the analytical ability to basically to investigate and analyze what's going on and respond to that. And that's how we use this technology. So here's what APOLLOWARE is. APOLLOWARE came out of the fact that there was a real lack of understanding as far as how energy grid works. Okay, and this gets back to my initial comment about people thinking, well, I wasn't going to have an electric bill. That's what they told me. Okay, so you have generation that's generated from the solar panel, what we call gross generation. People are using energy, which is electric usage. And then if there's a surplus of generation over what they're using, it's a net generation. In other words, the amount of energy going back to the grid. There are three different components, and there really wasn't a good model, or wasn't a good, way to measure all of those at the same time, consistently, transparently, and in real time, which surprised me. But in essence, what that said is, well, we need to do that. It wasn't a good product on the market at the time. I said, well, if there's not a product, we'll just build one. And that's what we did. So we built a cloud-based energy analytics platform. It's real time. It's data-driven. It provides not only distributed generation integration, which in other words, I can see every second what's going on with my solar fleet, with my storage fleet. I can actually see at the edge of my grid, at the end of the circuit, the person has it literally at the end of the line. I can monitor what's going on with voltage. I can monitor the quality of the power they're receiving, because it's very, very granular. And that provides a very powerful tool as an electric utility. It also provides a very insightful tool for our membership. So the APOLLOWARE platform, it's based on a cloud-based structure. Like I said, we've partnered with Amazon Web Services, which basically helps us with vast amounts of data. And really we use it for grid optimization. So that's really for the electric grid security and resiliency. We use it for DER integration, which is assessing how solar is used, how energy storage is used, how our members are using energy in real time. And then we can aggregate that. We can provide power quality alerts. In other words, if something looks bad at the house, we're going to tell you that. I'm an APOLLOWARE customer. I really like my email. I get an email every week saying, hey, here's what you used. It looks a little high. Maybe you need to turn the pool pump off. I keep trying to tell my wife that. She refuses. I let it go. But at least I know. At least I know what's going on. And lastly, we talk about energy efficiency. And if there's anything that I want to have you all realize going away, I think energy efficiency is the most important aspect of what we have to do going forward, not only as an electric utility, but as a consumer of energy. And if anything, Winter Storm Uri has proven we're in a real hurt. And so APOLLOWARE again has allowed us to offer a project on energy efficiency, a multi-tiered program. Okay, I'll go in that here in just a second. So we can move on. Okay, so as far as grid optimization, this is just an example of how we use the grid or how we use APOLLOWARE to help us. So in this context, what we're looking at is a tree that's brushing into a line. Most electric utilities do not have a granular view of what's going on down the stream at the edge of their grid. Okay, this is like near your house or down your street. Okay, you think, oh, well, they certainly know this is going on. The utility knows I have a smart meter. They know this is going on. No, they don't. Okay, because there is no communication platform that will provide that back to them. With what we've done is this a true multi-communication platform, allows that data to come back. As you can see, from about 5:53 to 6:26 a.m., you see multiple dips and surges in what's going on. That's a tree limb in the line. Eventually, about 6:30, that tree limb stays in the line. It trips a fuse. So this just kind of gives you a glimpse of, if we start understanding how that kind of fingerprint of a tree in the line looks, we can then use machine learning to develop now, okay, you have a tree in the line. And it's no longer, well, there's an outage, I don't know what happened. So anyway, so you can see kind of how that works as far as grid optimization. Likewise, we have integration with our solar and storage folks. We require everyone who interconnects with us, whether it's solar, storage, in whatever capacity, we require them to have APOLLOWARE. And it's a small cost, but it provides them benefits, and it provides us benefits. And it's real-time data. As I talk about it, it provides solar generation gross and net. It obviously tells you about your solar storage, energy storage. We have electric load usage, but more importantly, we've gone actually to the sub panel. So I'm monitoring air conditioners, pool pumps, water heaters, ovens, blah, 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 blah. And so data is very important and valuable. And when you have enough of it, you can start making decisions with the power of machine learning. And so that's where this is going. So you can move on there, Juan. Of course, it also helps us engage with our membership. As I said earlier, we are a member-owned utility. Apologize, it's kind of windy. You hear the chimes. Anyway, we are a member-owned company, so it's really important that we establish transparency and integrity with our members, that they trust us. And so they have view of the same data we do. So it's not like we're saying, oh, well, this is what's happening. It's like, no, let's go look together and maybe we can figure out what's happening. Customers receive weekly emails, and you know, me personally, that's what I look at. I don't go and look at the app every day, but I do look at the email every week to try to understand exactly how that works. And so it's a very important tool with our members. I want to talk a little bit about Winter Storm Uri, because I think this is a very unique perspective. We all suffered through, I will venture to say we all suffered through Winter Storm Uri from February 12th to 20th. Here at Bandera, we had mandated rolling blackouts for 70 straight hours. It affected 84% of our members, and that's more than 3,000 outages in that regard. But what was interesting about it was what was going on at the home. And just to put it in perspective, if you look at 1 week before, so on February 8th, this was the average home. This is what their usage pattern looked like. I'll just point out a couple things. You see this house had solar. So you see that little golden line where it crested in the afternoon, and the black line, which is the load of the house, actually goes negative, which means they were actually generating more energy than they were using. Hey, that's great during a nice sunny winter day. Guess what? 1 week later, you can see what happened. It was pandemonium. I mean, you can't even compare the right slide, to the left slide. It was just ridiculous. So what did we learn from Winter Storm Uri? So we learned that there are houses that are much more susceptible to cold and inefficiency than some houses, on a dramatic scale, to the scale of almost 100-fold, which is just ridiculous. These houses are in desperate need of improvements of energy efficiency. And I'm going to go into that a little bit later. This is what APOLLOWARE told us of what's going on the month of February. So from February 1st to February 10th, that is your average winter usage. That's your home power draw during a normal winter. Look what happens February 12th through February 20. It's up 500%. Now, let me just put that in perspective. It really doesn't matter if every generator in the state of Texas was operating. If the load goes up 500%, you don't have enough. Which gets me to the point is we have got to do a better job of improving energy efficiency and understanding how we can help reduce that. We don't want to sit here building power plants from now until doomsday. We've got to be more efficient. So likewise, this is what happened during our solar fleet and during our battery storage fleet. So on the left-hand side, from February 1st to 10th, you can see we were generating a pretty good amount of solar. From 10th to the 19th, virtually no solar. This is what happens when you have 4 inches of snow and ice on every solar panel across your service territory, which is what we had here. Likewise, on the energy storage side, now imagine this on February 15th, if you look down there at February 15th, at that point in time, the price on the ERCOT market was $9,000 a megawatt hour. Put in perspective, $9 a kilowatt hour. Now I'm burning through 300 kilowatt hours trying to charge somebody's battery. Okay, is that really a good use of energy right now? No, I need to be paying that person not to charge their battery. Anyway, some of the lessons learned that we hope going forward. Next. So anyway, this leads to the energy efficiency discussion. And again, we have what we call APOLLOWARE Saver, which is an energy audit in the installation of APOLLOWARE. Based on the results of APOLLOWARE, we then offer a 0% interest for energy improvements at the home, whether it's HVAC or windows or insulation. It's all financed over a 10-year window, and it's actually on the electric bill. And it's hugely popular. I think from year to date, we have over $1 million of energy improvements that's already been financed at 0% interest. We're backlogged. It's just a hugely popular program that we're offering. We have a hugely APOLLOWARE solar. The APOLLOWARE Saver is also very popular. Out of 153 people that we've been offered APOLLOWARE Saver to, 93 have accepted. So like we have a 53% take rate. In essence, what that is APOLLOWARE Saver is you pay $14 a month and you save about $22 a month. And so I'm very happy to see that we built kind of a subscription model for improving energy efficiency, helping reduce energy costs while at the same time generating revenue for us It's a change of the business model, which all utilities need to adopt. So the APOLLOWARE Saver, and this just shows you kind of a picture of the app, and we have an app on the App Store as well as you can see, the computer. It was approved by USDA as an energy device, that energy efficiency device, and so it does help save our members money. And this is just a few examples of what we've seen. You have HVAC systems cycling, people complaining about their power bill. We're able to go in and basically diagnose exactly what's going on. Likewise with a pipe leak. This is the one that I think is really good. A customer was complaining about a high electric bill, didn't understand it, said, look, I'm not using any energy. I turned my thermostat way down. What he didn't realize is he had a leak in the well, and his water pump was cycling all the time, just pumping water out in the ground. And so once you correct that pipe leak, guess what? Your energy bill comes back down. But unless you have a tool like APOLLOWARE to allow you to diagnose exactly what's going on, there's no way to accommodate that. I tell the story is, we spend $20,000 or $30,000 on a vehicle, and that vehicle has all kinds of alarms and alerts, and man, you get in and, if your left front tire is 1 pound too light, you're going to get an alert. Hey, your front left tire is 1 pound too light. Okay. If your HVAC has a heat strip that is operating at the same time the cooling compressor is running, you don't know about it. You only know about it when you get the electric bill and you're going, what the heck is this about? So it's time, I think, today for electric utilities to recognize that appliances in the home need to be monitored, okay? That it's not just, okay, I'm in the business of selling kilowatt hours. If it's inefficient, if they've got a bad air conditioner, that's on them. No, that's on you. And it's on you because we all have an obligation to be efficient and to conserve. We don't have the luxury of just building and building and building power plants and building more transmission lines. I can assure you, it doesn't matter how many power plants you build. If we have another extreme event, which we will at some point, and the load goes 500%, you're going to melt stuff. You're going to melt the distribution lines. You're going to burn up transformers. It doesn't matter if you have the generation. It's not going to get to the customer unless the customer has more understanding and control of their power. So that's really kind of the message I'm going to leave you with here. And I know I've talked a long time, and much longer than you want me to. But in any case, my leaving message is, I believe that we are the utility of the future. We have several other utilities that we're working with who agree with us. They want us to help them with the technology, help us build that business model. We're community-based, we're not for profit, which means we're inclusive and transparent. If you have a question and call us, we're going to work with you. We are technology adept, which means we're going to provide a resilient grid. In a lot of cases, that means a fiber optic secured communications network, which also allows you high-speed internet. As your energy advocate, it's my obligation to make sure your electric bill is low, that we've done everything we can to keep your rates down. I do that through efficiency. I do that through helping you operate and understand how to use energy more efficiently. And then lastly, as a member-owned utility, it's all about service. And I think sometimes in this country, we've lost that commitment to service. I'm waiting for an air conditioning guy right now, which is why I'm sitting outside, because our air conditioner went out. And it's like, well, I'll get there between now and 10 p.m. Okay, well, thank you. So anyway, that being said, I hope you found this somewhat informational, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Bill, thank you. Thank you. So, some virtual claps for you, and I'm grateful that you're also outside and we're able to hear the wind chimes as well, and that you're not sweating indoors.
See, it's beautiful here in Boerne, Texas. You should all move over here. It's great. You don't have traffic.
It's just great.
Like chime.
And you hear the birds singing, and you're part of a more interconnected future with your neighbors.
Nirvana.
Yeah. Well, Well, thank you again. I think that we're going to see some of these questions in the chat room. I want to raise attention to Larry, who had his hand up, and I want to ask Larry to unmute yourself if you still have that question, and then afterwards we can take the different comments that were written. Hello, Larry. Well, I see that you're unmuted yourself, but maybe in the meantime,
Yep.
we can go and see what question from Kaiba is about. Are all solar customers required to be time of use rates, or is it an optional offering you guys get?
It's optional. So we don't want to ever mandate or tell people what kind of electric rates. Everybody uses energy in a different way. Just a brief history of electric rates. Back in the day, 100 years ago, electric utilities didn't have information, and so they'd made assumptions on how do we make sure that everything's equitable. So what we do is we put everybody in the same rate class. Okay, so a residential customer, whether you have 1,000 square foot home or a 10,000 square foot home, we're going to charge you the same because you're a residential customer. So there was no variability or allowance for differences in how people used energy. And of course, I don't want to get into the point where I'm saying, well, you've got to go this because you are in this bucket. What we want is give options. We, of course, encourage people to go on time of use. Our time of use rates, even for customers who don't have solar or storage, they save about 10%. But you'd be surprised how many people, no, I'll just stay on the regular rate. So, I mean, you just have to understand optionality is very important.
And gave them the option to the choice.
That's their choice.
Okay, but does that kind of answer your follow-up question about sharing how the rate is calculated as to how solar customers are compensated?
Okay, so let me get into that. So, so we develop our rates on how we compensate for generation. Is that the question?
Yes, the question says, can you share how you calculate the rate that solar customers are compensated at?
Sure. So what we do is we look at what our wholesale electric rate is. And as I said earlier, we're on a time of use rate. So, at nighttime during the spring, I don't pay a whole lot. But in the summertime, between June and September, between 2 and 6 p.m., I pay a lot for energy. Now, if you're willing to generate and you sell back to me, I'm going to reward you with that. I think right now it's between 8.5 and 9 cents a kilowatt hour, which is pretty much that's a pretty good fee. But again, it's based on the time that you're generating to me. It's calculated based on our wholesale electric rate and what we have to pay during the time of use rate. And that's how we ensure that it's consistent and fair. I'm not going to subsidize or somehow, pull money from other customers. It's all based on what I have to pay during that same period. That's how we develop the rate.
Okay. So just to follow up on that, is that also accounting for ERCOT and transmission fees?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you account for any of your kind of deferred distribution kind of upgrades and any other expenses that maybe aren't coming through on a
Right.
direct per kilowatt hour basis?
Right. So to be very clear, it's not net metering. Okay. It's not like for like. It's not the same that I will charge you for delivery. And the reason is because I do have to take that kilowatt hour that you're providing me at your meter point, and I have to then take that and distribute it to somebody else, which means I have to use my grid, which means the losses associated with that have to be incorporated. So I have to get that money back. So it's close, but it's not net metering. It's literally similar, but it's not exactly, because there are losses of the distribution, because I have a cost of delivery. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It sounds like kind of a sort of like a value of solar rate closer to that than net metering.
Right. But we are looking at, as you know, in Texas, there are no capacity charges,
Right.
Which is ridiculous. But at the same point in time, we do recognize that our transmission uplift, okay, as an electric utility, I do have literally a capacity payment. It's not defined in per kilowatt hour, or excuse me, per kW capacity, but it's kilowatt hour based. And so we're looking at developing a rate where if during a 4CP event, you're operating and selling back into the market, I will share the benefit with you. We're still working on that with our APOLLOWARE technology to do that.
Thanks. And I think that this kind of answered or covered James's question, but I want to make sure, James, that that you don't have any other doubts. You mind unmuting yourself and seeing if there's any other parts of your question along these lines of the rates that you'd like to know?
You mean me as in James Ornstein?
Correct.
So there's a question in general about utility rate structures that's going on across the country that has to do with recovering the cost of the grid services when people start generating their own electricity and they're not paying much of anything as far as based on the amount of electricity used. So some utilities have gone towards a residential demand charge. Some have just gone towards increased minimum charges, which is a problem for people that don't use much electricity. So it's kind of tied to the rate-based question, but it's a little more specifically to, and RMI calls it grid defection. So how do you keep people from going off grid, basically?
Well, I hear you, and I'll address it this way. If you really look at what the electric grid is, okay, we over the last 80 years have spent, I don't know how many millions of dollars. That's like a mortgage on a house, right? I look at that, that's a fixed cost, okay? It's not a variable. I had to build this thing, okay? I had to borrow money and I got a mortgage to pay. That's fixed. That's not a variable. That's not a, well, depending on how much you use or anything. So there's an element that needs to be fixed. We have, I think, a very fair fixed cost. That fixed cost allows me to have more flexibility with the variability element of fuel and energy. And so we've taken the approach of, for example, our monthly fixed cost is $25 a month. And I know people will say, well, that's a lot because this is just a hunting cabin. Well, yes, but I had to build an infrastructure to your hunting cabin. That's really your decision not to be there. And that's not my decision. When you want electricity, it's there. So that's a fixed cost that I had to incur. So that amount of money is really fixed, and that I have to recover that. I don't believe necessarily in demand charges for residential customers for a couple reasons. One, in the state of Texas, we don't have traditionally called a demand charge. When I was in Florida and I was paying $27 a kilowatt month for capacity, yeah, okay, now I can see justifying, having a residential demand charge. In Texas, everything's kilowatt hour. And so it opens me up to, well, how come, you're not paying a demand charge? And so it gets very problematic. So the more information and data based on how you use energy should drive what you get charged. That's why we have so many different options. I hope I answered your question, James.
I think so. And I think just kind of the last question that I see here about rate structures is your opinion in the world of interconnectedness and IoT about the rate schedules for EVs. And if there's any sort of changes to what BEC is doing right now or what it will do in the future with electric vehicles.
Right now, we do have electric vehicle chargers out there. Believe it or not, we find that at state parks, believe it or not, that's where the electric vehicle chargers get used. It's not at the local grocery store or movie theater or gas station. Most people stay in those very transient, that's just a transient. 90% of folks charge at home. So we are working on an electric vehicle rate, which basically, again, I'm not gonna get into details because we really haven't developed it yet, but we are looking at the APOLLOWARE data, how people use that energy at home and charging vehicles. We do offer, we do install, we're a Tesla business partner, right? So we install Tesla power walls, we install home vehicle electrical vehicle chargers. So we certainly understand the dynamics of how that works. I think that knowing that helps us build a very, very detailed and accurate rate. And I think during the nighttime, it's going to be extremely low, most likely in the spring near zero. But there are going to be times when we have an extreme weather event where, I don't need you to charge. In fact, I'll pay you to not charge.
That's amazing to hear that rates will be as close to zero as possible for charging at night.
Well, if you look at the ERCOT wholesale market, there have been several times when the market price goes zero or negative.
Yes.
And it's, it's like last fall when oil went negative, price per barrel. And, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but believe it or not, that it does happen infrequently. But, we at least understand that and pull that data in as in the context of developing a rate for us.
Mm-hmm. So just kind of switching gears a little bit, I think that many of us are impressed about what you and your team has been able to accomplish both on the software side and implementation and customer satisfaction, right? It's quite impressive. So kind of a two-part question. One is, how was it possible for you to, or for the boards to approve your thinking and the changes for BEC to get to where it is today? And then the second part would be, how are you helping other utilities follow suit, and whether that's opportunistic or that's active action of you guys?
I appreciate that. I'd like to think that I do have a great board. Our board of directors, are very savvy financial business folks who understand business. They also understand the transition that's going on in the marketplace. We meet every year and have our strategic session, and we lay it out for them. And, as I shared with you the cable TV story, I said, look, don't think for a minute being a monopoly and being an electric utility protects us from anything. I said, the reality is the value of an electric utility is how our members view us. If our customers don't think twice about us and can care less, we've lost. You're not going to, you're irrelevant. But if you're providing them the values that they want, I go back to that 2013, 2014 survey. If you're willing to do what they want you to do, then it builds a huge amount of trust and integrity. I can't tell you, by providing fiber optic to the home, what that's done for our membership and what our electric growth. It's literally tripled our electric growth in the last 4 years. From previous years. Literally, if you see a tripling of the electric growth, and it's because people want to go where there's high-speed internet. It's no longer, well, how are the schools? I want to make sure I'm in a good school district. Well, yeah, that's still important. But guess what? The second question is, where's the high-speed internet? Okay, and if it's 25.3 and it's a wireless. I don't know. I can get fiber in Bandera or Bernie. Come on out to Bernie. And your second part of your question is working with other utilities. And yes, I'm happy to report there are utilities here in Central Texas who agree with me and say, yeah, Bill, help us do that. That's great. We want you to help us do it. We've got the expertise over the last 5 years. We've been working on this. This was by no means a small effort, but we're over the hump, I think, and I think blue skies are ahead, and I think we all will benefit because we're leading the way. I don't know of any other electric utility, whether it's an IOU, muni, or co-op, that's doing what we're doing. And so I think that sometimes you have to be outside the mainstream to get people to buy it, and I guess I'm encouraged that we do have people who see the vision we see.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty relevant, just because it's the same pattern, the same trend as to like how I hear of utilities in other parts of the world, actually. And so they try to experiment with virtual power plants and how this sort of implementation of hardware and software, I think you guys are leading the way. And so I'm wondering, how can we?
And I will say, if there are any of you if solar people out there who want to get a demo of APOLLOWARE and use it with your stuff, we'd love to show it to you.
I think there have been some questions about it. Some more on the technical side that Justin has been able to help answer.
Yeah.
So thanks. Appreciate that help right there, Justin. And so I think that here's.
By the way, I do see that there's a question or comment there about PEC, and I'm assuming that's Pedernales. I do know Julie very well, and Julie and I have been talking. I can't go into a lot of detail, but we're having dialogues as well.
Great. Thank you for helping out. I think that here's another question was about who is doing the solar installations, and if you partner with local EPCs or local installers, and kind of in addition to that, if there's any interest for more utility scale solar.
I guess, yes, right now we do installs internally, but we're certainly open to work with others. We just want to work with quality folks. We want to establish partnerships. We want to establish distribution channels. We recognize we can't do this by ourselves, but I mean, if we share the same vision, if we can work together, absolutely. We want to partner with anybody that shares kind of the view that we have of quality, of opportunity, and as far as providing options for those members, and that's really where it starts. As far as community solar, we have a pretty significant community solar already. Right now, I'm rather restricted on more community solar, only because of my wholesale power contract that I have, which restricts how much solar I can put in. Unfortunately, at the time that was signed, solar wasn't, a big threat, but they wanted to kind of make sure that I didn't go too rogue. So,
A contract with?
LCRA. Lower
Okay.
Colorado River Authority. You should be familiar. They're there in Austin.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah, there was a question here whether or not where BC buys its wholesale power, whether it's from a cooperative.
We have a contract that it allows us to buy 65%. We have to buy from LCRA, which we do. And LCRA does a good job. I want to give hats off to Phil. He's done a good job there. And we do have a good relationship, but we also have a contractual obligation. We recognize that, but we do have 35% latitude to buy outside of LCRA. So we use that to buy wind and solar assets outside of the traditional, natural gas and coal and stuff like that.
So here's a question from myself, and just as I try to make sense of the different questions that are the theme, but if one of the biggest takeaways was energy efficiency, and I think that you've definitely shown us that APOLLOWARE can demonstrate a lot of sensitivity to volatility that there can happen, and that is one of the best ways to make better decisions about energy efficiency. Now, that's on the software side. What about solutions on the hardware? How is it that we could go, whether it's to the homeowner, to a business, or to a development, to be more energy efficient? Any suggestions you have as to what you've seen has worked?
Well, here's my, I write articles every month, so I assume that there's nobody out there who's a Bandera Electric Co-op member, right? If there are, raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
But I write an article every month for what they call the Texas Co-op Power Magazine. Okay. And I wrote that the problem with energy efficiency is, I'm an age of when I remember the 1973 oil embargo. Okay, so I'm an old white guy, and energy efficiency just really isn't sexy. Okay, it's like, what? I got to do what? Oh wow. So the reality is, if you can make, if you can make energy efficiency much more appealing and attractive. And, I'm going to use one of Justin's terms, gamification, right? I've got this Apple Watch thing and I run every day, because my Apple Watch says, well, you need to run today. And so there is a mindset about energy efficiency that I think we can encourage. It's like, if I could say, you're not as energy efficient as you used to be, what do you mean I'm not? We've got to instill that gratification piece. People love instant gratification. I want to know that I'm doing well today as far as energy efficiency. And I think that helps change people's perspective on energy efficiency and behavior. Likewise, we need to provide the tools and understanding and information. We've never, ever had real-time access to how you're using energy right now. Okay, right now in your house, what's going on? And so we've become a society that's like, I get the power bill at the end of the month. It's like, oh, wow, look at that. Oh, something must be wrong. It's probably the utility. And so we have got to educate ourselves that we got to take some responsibility that we're using this energy, and yeah, we'll help you get energy efficient. And yeah, we can do it on the electric bill to minimize your pain, but you've got to make the decision. And I think, we've been very successful doing that. I mean, Justin and his team have, knocked it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. They got a backlog. We have 21 different vendors, air conditioners, windows, insulation, all over, and they're just, improving systems, houses throughout our service territory. So, it can be done. You just got to do it. And so other utilities are seeing what we're doing and saying, we want you to do that for us. And so that helps us spread the message.
Amazing. And thank you so much for the time to spread your message here. I think you have a very engaged audience. I'll looking forward to gamifying energy efficiency and make it a little sexier, whether it's with LED bulbs you can control with your phone.
And so everybody can sell their house in Austin, make a big killing, and move to the Texas Hill Country, and we'll be glad to set you up.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can't wait to hear the wind chimes myself.
Thanks, guys.
So cheers of champagne to you and everyone.
Right.
Thank you so much for attending. Have a great rest of the evening, and be sure to complete that survey. I'll tune in next month for the next happy hour. So have a great evening.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.